I'm Celine Williams, and welcome to the Leading Through Crisis podcast, a conversation series exploring resiliency and leadership in challenging times. So you might recognize my guest today because she's been a guest on the show before. I'm here with Dr. JJ Kelly, which is very formal, also known as the Punk Rock Doc, who is a licensed clinical psychologist and emotional intelligence trainer, and hands down, most importantly, my very dear friend.
Hi.
Hi.
Dear friend.
That's right. I'm gonna, we don't say dear friend enough. We need to go back to the days of dear friending. Why not?
Word. Why not? Gosh, we need more peace and love in the world, man.
Right. I was saying to someone really recently, this conversation is going to go all over the place. I'm very excited for
Awesome.
it.
I can already
I'm just going to own it right off the bat. I was saying to someone really recently, because there was like an article or something that was talking about how we don't say I love you to friends enough. Like, we don't use the language of love. We've reserved it for romantic relationships or familiar relationships only. And we were talking about this, and I said, yes. And I went through a stage where I would tell all my friends that I loved them. And I would tell, like, if a bartender brought me a drink, I'd be like, oh my God, I love you so much. Thank you for this. And people kept telling me to stop being weird.
That one I don't like at all. It has an insincerity to it that I think makes the other ones invalid. That's me.
That's fair. That's fair. But the fact that it was, and I'm not saying that's for everyone, I want to make that clear. Don't go telling bartenders you love them if you don't. Like, the way I was doing it did not, never landed wrong with them, ever. They always thought it was...
I would not like that.
Fair. Hopefully I'd be able to read that in you, but the fact that other people were like, even friends were like, that's a really weird thing to do, to just tell your friends you love them. I've started doing it, but I stopped doing it for a really long time because why can't we talk about loving our friends? Like, I don't only love my family or romantic partner. That's weird.
Yes, I agree totally. And I'm always the weird friend that pushes that. It makes my skin crawl, the I love you with someone I'm not tight with. There are these certain people and organizations in the now toxic positivity world where they say I love you right out of the fucking gates as a Irish American Midwestern. No fucking way. That's weird. And not the good weird. Like that, that makes my skin fucking crawl. I don't know you like that, Like, we're not tight. Don't. And the expectation that you're supposed to say it back. I'm not fucking saying that back. We can sit in the awkwardness that you created by saying it. I'm not saying that shit back out of obligation. It means too much to me.
Right.
But I will say it with friends, and their skin can crawl. I don't care, because I do love them and I want them to know that. And, a lot of them have gotten used to it. I pushed why don't we ever kiss each other on the cheek, which is dead in the water now because of COVID, right? But I would kiss friends on the cheek and sometimes lips in a totally platonic way. And we had to talk about that again with former Midwesterners, and they all laughed and shit, but I swear to God, they got more affectionate. It's like permission for what we already want. More love, more hugs, more I love yous, more hair petting,
more connection, more intimacy, more vulnerability. Like, isn't that, I love that you said that, because I think I grew up with, this, I grew up with European parents, and my mother being Italian. When you go to Italy, all of her friends, they hold your hand, they kiss your face. There's not one or two kisses, there's 17 kisses. There's so much hugging. You sit next to someone, their arm is around, there is touching constantly. And I grew up with that. So I have to be very mindful of how I hug, or my natural, and I will warn people, I'm a hugger, and I will hug
Yeah.
you for an inappropriate amount of time because I don't know how to not do that, because it is that like connection. And
Yes.
people either it does to it they lean in and it's like, oh, it is permission to be affectionate in some way that is not sexual or
Yeah.
inappropriate, which then can, balloon out in groups, whether it's a professional setting or a personal setting, where it's like, it should be okay. Sorry, HR. Anyone in HR who's listening to this, I apologize in advance. But it should be okay to hug someone in a business setting if they're having a bad day, or you have that kind of relationship. Why can't you?
I agree totally. Why why can't you? We know why.
Well,
Certain folks fuck it up and go too far and take advantage with their privilege, blah blah blah. But yes, I think there needs to be so much more touch, platonic, loving touch in the world. And God, coming off of COVID, the reemergence, I think we probably are so starved. We don't even know what it will do for us to have that more of that touch.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I mean, it's I think COVID had everyone look really internally for, not always successfully, but I think a lot of people looked internally for what mattered to them or what they really wanted to be doing or their purpose or whatever the case may be, at the expense of any external connection. So that,
Totally.
you know, external
What a
connection, like,
time not to have pets, by the way. Oh my gosh. I was like longing for former pets during the whole COVID
yeah,
thing, man. Woo!
yep.
Just somebody bring their dog over. I'll just sit with that dog for hours. Whatever, man. Man, oh man.
Full disclosure, my cats were very popular in COVID because people were like, because I'm very affectionate. So they were like, can we just come and hang out with the cats? I was like, yeah, you can. Because I get it. You
That
can't
is
catch
so
anything from them and they're affectionate. So yeah,
Oh, that is a lovely gift you gave your friends. It's
the number of
nice.
people's kids who were like, can we come play with the cats? Like, yes, you can go. It was very cute
Oh,
because they weren't in
darling.
school and it was that, that lacking
Mm-hmm.
connection. They were
Mm-hmm.
lacking connection. We've all been lacking connection.
Yep. You know, I was with a kid. Well, he's not a kid. He's in his late 20s now, but I've seen him on and off for a couple of years. And we were talking about strangely leadership. I don't always talk to clients and say the word leadership. But I was saying, you I don't know how many role models you have to be your like super weird sparkly bunnies and rainbows kind of cat, like this kid is so open-hearted and weird and then scared because all the rejection and bullying that happened developmentally, but you could feel your people no matter whether you've met them or not. You kind of can feel out the weirdos if you've been one or whatever. And God, just such a lovely kid. And I was like, why do you think that I continue to be all the way me in a setting that kind of says don't do that?
Yep.
Because I believe that me being my shiny, sparkly, swear like a sailor, is accept myself anyway, self is an invitation for you to do the same thing. You need to see people who shine and like themselves and are freak houses and like their happy lives. Like there just aren't a whole lot of role models of that. Act according to your values, build self esteem and self confidence, don't care about people's reaction to the weird, and like themselves. Did I say like themselves twice?
You
But
said self-esteem, but we'll go with that. I'm fine with those being different. We're good.
so, but like just the basic, hey, I like myself flaws and all doesn't fucking exist many places. So I was like, to me, that is true leadership. And he was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, we sure don't talk about leadership like that in like a straight male fucking patriarchy, white. society. He's like, that is not how leadership is described. And I was like, I know. And I disagree with how it is portrayed. Dude, why the fuck do you think I'm saying it like this to you? Because you're starting to step into what is going to be a leadership role. You started your own company. Like you're becoming all the way you, and it's going to affect your business greatly in the positive if you have these things lined up within yourself. That's
Yep.
just how it goes.
Yep.
Let me be an example of that for
Yeah.
you, and then you do you.
The way that you're talking, this is how I've always interpreted and spoken into this idea of leading by example, right? Which
Yes.
is really, I've said for years that one of the reasons I do what I do is because it's really important for me to help leaders, because I work with mostly leaders, um, fully step into who they are and be okay with that so that they can then create that space for other people. Because when we
Yes.
are, that to me is leading by example, is not putting on the suit because someone, I mean, wear a suit if you want to wear a suit, I don't care, but it's not putting on the suit because someone else dictates that you have to look a certain
Right.
way. And listen, we all adapt our language for various situations. That's not a bad thing. It's part of navigating the world. But entirely changing or disconnecting from who you are or what your values are, or having that person's judgment completely derail your self-esteem, that's not leading by example. And the more that we can say, I am a whole, complete human being the way I am, and I love the good, bad, and ugly about myself, and it doesn't mean I don't want to change anything, or I don't want to get better, or this is the end game, but I can love where I am and I know we talked about this last time, hold the opposite or hold a different thought that I still want to be better in these ways at the same time.
Yes.
This is leading by example. And a lot of the language, a lot of how people talk about leading by example is not this. It's not
Yes.
this.
That's so true. And the adaptation to your environment thing is a real sticky thing. And, being like having an expertise in dialectics, the Venn diagram, the opposites or seeming opposites, as you were saying. Like, yes, adaptation and being yourself and
Yes.
that Venn diagram. And it's like the slippery thing is, I think, is that how does brainwashing work? Okay, well, repetition carves new neural pathways. So you got to be careful because adaptation can become brainwashing in
Yes.
tiny fucking increments over time, and then you don't even notice. So I think that knowing what your values are can help that process, because then you're constantly evaluating, does this match my values, does this match my
Yes.
values, instead of just doing what you're told to avoid punishment in a work setting.
Yes.
Like, so I'll get another job, motherfucker, I'm not doing that. But
Yep.
that's me. You could do it in your way of speaking, much more diplomatically. I was constantly in trouble when I had a boss. So there clearly are better ways to do it than me. But I'll tell you what, I came out of shit like unscathed as far as my self-confidence and self-esteem. I'm not saying, walking off the job or something is good for your self-esteem, but sometimes it is if it
Sure.
doesn't match your values. And I think people want to watch for this tiny increments thing.
Yeah.
Because you change, like adapt, and and all these smart people now have no emotional vocabulary
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not appropriate to talk about emotions in a work setting, patriarchy. So even, women and people of color are in a system of like white straight male fucking thing, and some of the women are toxic masculinity out too,
Hugely so. Yeah. Yeah.
because they're adhering to the system in tiny increments. They have no idea they become a Karen because it didn't happen overnight.
Yep. And I mean, yes, all of that. And I agree with you. When I say adapting, I don't mean
I
against your
know.
values. And I say that because I appreciate you calling it out, because I would not want anyone to be listening or watching this and thinking that. But that is an important checkpoint. there are ways to there there are ways to intentionally adapt and check values and make sure that things are in alignment that aren't that.
Yeah.
And there the very listen, I the one of my favorite sayings that I use ironically is there's no crying in baseball. And I use it ironically because I'm always like, there's so much crying in everything because we all have every emotion should be okay in the workplace. You and I've talked about this so many times. Feel your feel that is giving you information. Be upset, whatever. And maybe going in and screaming at your boss is not the
Yeah.
best way to express your anger, but it is
Right.
okay to feel all the feelings. That
That's right.
like, and then you learn what to do with it, and then you learn, and that's the adapting. To me, that's the adapting. It's not, it's knowing that if I go in and I swear and I scream at my boss, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get fired. Okay, but I can still be in line with my values and tell my boss that I am upset and angry and here's the reason why, to a
Yeah.
better result. That's the adapting.
Yeah.
For me,
And
that's
if
how
you
I
go
think of it.
off and slay your boss in a way that doesn't match your values, worse than getting fired, you're going to have shame. Now you've
Yes.
eroded your own self esteem by behaving in a way that you don't even agree with when you're not pissed. That's the
Yep.
thing. When you get that pissed, and it's usually from stuffing for years and not admitting, oh, I don't want to be an angry person. You're already a fucking angry person because you've been stuffing for decades. It's so much healthier to just admit to at least yourself when you're angry and then take a step back and decide what you want to do about it according to your own values. Like, not ever acknowledging anger is not a sustainable system, people. There's the toxic positivity. I don't want to be an angry person. Well, I can feel the anger and hostility, the unacknowledged anger reverberating off of you, and every other fucking thing you do is passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So not really working your whole thing. You're just trying to present something. And plus, anger's the one that tells us our boundaries are being crossed. That's a
Totally.
really useful signaling system for us. It is not carte blanche to go off and throw chairs and shit. Because I'm not going to do that because I have worked hard to build my self esteem and self confidence according to my values, and that doesn't match it. The impulse to do it, that matches. I can
Sure.
absolutely go, oh, I got some dark thoughts about this situation. And acknowledging that dark shit in thought form actually prevents doing it. I don't do that stuff. I talk about face mushing people all the time. I don't face mush people all the time. I just talk about it
Yeah.
most jokingly, but sometimes, I teach a kid some emotional intelligence skills, or fuck, even an executive, some emotional intelligence skills, and then they twist it and pervert it and then use it to self flagellate. Yeah. Do I want to face mush them or shake them? Hell yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Do I? Absolutely not. I say it, we laugh, then we go back and talk about, hey, why it pisses me off because you're hurting somebody I care about.
Yep.
Knock it off. We can do this. Okay, well, what can you do instead? What was the emotion that was driving that? Where did the anger click a switch in you that you decided to give yourself permission to act the asshole? Because we do make that choice. Oh, and all of a sudden I'm pissed enough where it's okay.
I love you so much. And I am so I think the thing that I have said to more people in the past 6 months is the initial feeling you're feeling, your initial reaction, you're not responsible for. That is giving you information. And then the thing you do next is a choice. And then the thing you do next is a choice. So what choice are you making? What choice are you
Yes.
making? And I will tell you, and I'm sure you get this to the nth degree but I get people are like, I get defensive. That's not that I can't. I'm like, are you being served by sitting in this shit, whatever the hell it is, or acting? Because you're making that choice, so it's serving something. Why are you make people hate it? They hate
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
because there's so much, and I don't know I don't even, I couldn't even begin to guess where it came from, but there's so much language out of like, you're feel all your feelings. What I'm about to say is not to take away from feeling initial feelings, but you don't have to sit in that feeling for the rest of time. That feeling is not the truth forever. If it's driving shitty, you're making a choice to sit in that feeling and have behave in a shitty way, to act
Yes.
inappropriately, whatever the case is. And we don't, people don't want to hear that.
Yeah. And you know what I found kind of by accident is that nobody knows what defensive is. Like, especially in the moment when they're behaving defensive. And I'm like, actually, there's no reason you have to behave defensively right now. And they're like, I'm not being defensive. Isn't that the first fucking thing anybody says when you say no need to be defensive right now? I'm not being defensive. Whoa. Even interns at the doctoral level didn't know what defensive, like it's kind of like I gotta show them what defensive behavior looks like. Well, I'm not gonna, well, actually, like all this shit, there are plenty of smart ways to hide defensiveness in a way that somebody else won't catch. Well, not only that, well, actually, these are often like turnarounds that are just like, whoa, don't look over here, look over here. I'm not doing that. It's all the same shit. It's saying, hey, um, are you feeling some fear around this? Are you worried that I'm judging you because you're behaving kind of defensively? What? I'm not being defensive. Well, now you're behaving more defensively when I talked about defense. Like, what's the underlying emotion here? And the defensiveness is such a weird, like, shutter the house and like just don't even fucking see the perspective of this situation at all. P.S. You are paying me money to challenge your bullshit stories. Then I do it. Then you tell me how you're not doing it. It's my job to uncover this. And then if I keep going, you make me into some sort of like what, attacking asshole monster. May I remind you, you're paying me to do
Yeah.
my duty. This is, I mean, I could back off and keep the money, but that doesn't match my values. I
Yeah.
don't like that situation, but it's not about me. I'm doing what this person hired me to do, and that sometimes means a horn lock. And I kind of gotta win, quote unquote, in order for them to know where, like, to be contained, ride out that emotion and quit acting from it because it's zero consequences with me. In the world, there are big consequences for that kind of fucking behavior, particularly in the workplace, but it just kills joy across the board, kills it.
Yeah. I so I have a I'm going to ask you a question about defensiveness, because I absolutely hear what you're saying, and I have seen, and I'm sure I've done it countless times myself, where I will not use the language of I'm not being defensive because
Of course, that's not sophisticated enough for you.
like,
Right.
yep, I mean, that, yeah, I'm like, that's obvious. I would never use that language. Um,
Yeah.
but I would, there are for sure, and especially like when my mom was alive, there are so much defensiveness just couched in an entirely different language. So
That's right.
I'm not, this is not me throwing stones, and I want to acknowledge that because I don't want this to seem like, oh, I would never be defensive. Like
Oh
that's
no,
not it.
no. I could see on your face you're actually like challenged, you're letting yourself be challenged in this moment and you're delighted by it. I can see that on your
This
face.
is the this is how I live my life. Challenge me as much as humanly possible. Make me think about things. I love when people make me think about things in a different
Me
way. So
too.
that is like my sweet spot. Um,
Totally.
so I say this because for sure, for someone like me who would not be thinking or responding with, I'm not defensive. I am going to be more sophisticated, and my brain is going to do the mental gymnastics to make sure that I'm not thinking I'm defensive in any way, shape, or form. So even
Yes.
inside my own brain, it's not coming from that place. How can we recognize or change or something that narrative? Because I I think if the thought is, or the starting point is, I'm not defensive, it is easier. I'm not saying it's easy, it's easier to potentially I don't know, shift that something than if someone has the 87 mental gymnastic steps that they've gone through
Yeah.
that I have definitely gone through before that shows up.
Um, I agree with you. I think it is easier if someone's just like, I'm not defensive. In the DBT, the dialectics that I teach from, um, actually though, I'm pretty sure I made this up, but the DBT term is willfulness, when we behave in ways that we know bite us in the ass later. Like that switch flipping and we just act the asshole. That kind of thing.
I'm only
Right?
laughing because my dad used to say growing up, one of his sayings was cut off your nose to spite your face. That is exactly what
Yes.
you're talking about. This is the cut off your nose to
Yes.
spite your face behavior.
Dude, that quote is in the DBT manual.
Is it
Yes.
really?
Yes.
I love
Shoot
it.
yourself in the foot, cut your nose off to spite. They're all violent. It's
Yeah.
fucking gross. Cut your nose off to spite your face. That's so fucked up. Anyway, I call it the yeah buts. Yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. That is defensiveness. And someone like you would never, once I tell you, once you see in the videos that the yeah, but thing is the
Yeah.
mark, you're going to file that fucking away. You're never, ever going to say, yeah, you're going to go, it's a yes and, or not a but an and. It's still a fucking yeah, but, because you're just quick saying the thing I just said and then getting rid of it and then loading up fucking countering details, but in a very relaxed way.
Mm.
So it's
Yep.
not charged or anything like that. You're like, well, I can see where you're coming from. And like that gets around it. And what I've always thought is this and this. Yeah, I know that's what you've always fucking thought. That's what I'm fucking. And now the hope, unconscious, I will say, oftentimes unconscious, the hope is that you will drown me in details to where I fucking forget what my original fucking point even was about this, that you are now, waterfalling details that are all very smart. When I work with people at this level, I actually have to put effort into both listening and dismissing and fucking remembering what I even asked. And a lot of times authenticity is my thing. I'll be like, oh my fucking God, I don't even know what the fuck I asked. I'm drowning in minutia that just flew out of your mouth and buried me without my consent. Like, or I'll be like, Christ. Like if I think that, they're
Yeah. Yeah.
we have the to do that. It's individualized, but God damn it. There is culture, particularly like intellectual business, any of the higher up kind of stuff, has so much intellectualizing. And I don't care that it's smart, it's still a defenseizing. It's not intellectual, it's intellectualizing. That's a defense mechanism. And it is still a way to get away from a feeling. So that's the bottom line answer to what you asked is there a raciness inside, even if you're not portraying the raciness? I think that if we get used to sort of naming our feelings and we're willing to take an honest look at when we're defensive, if we're going looking for it, then even if you don't admit it to the person you're being defensive with, maybe you just like check in with your bod, because like in your stomach or something, there's going to be like a little bit of a motor on it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes in your head, I don't know if this happens. Sometimes in your head, I'm like, actually, I say most everything I think, but it starts in my head, and I'll be like, wait, I don't even think I believe what I'm saying right now. Let me walk that back. Because it's my everything moves so fast. And I think it, I believe it when I'm saying it, but then as I hear myself say it, I'm like, no, 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 that's horseshit. Wait a second. wait. That is what I've always thought. But do I even think that anymore? I might not. I might not think that. I'll go
Yeah.
think about that.
I'm laughing because I do that with clients where they'll we'll be brainstorming, talking about something, talking through something, and I will say something and I am it's not processing it, but I'm trying to explain it
Oh,
out loud. Let's call pro whatever it is, and then I'll get to the end, I'll be like, no, hold on. Because I'm like, that's
yeah,
actually not, now that I've talked it through, I don't think that's the thing. Let me go back. And this is so I laugh because I fully appreciate what you're talking about in terms of as you are saying it or connecting with it or whatever, it is that realization that, oh, this is not true. This is not, and I
right.
think, as I say this out loud, let me do this right now. I
Uh-huh.
think it's actually part and parcel of why I personally love to be challenged, because that rethink in a moment or that eye opening in a moment, whether it's from me, but especially when someone else does it, I am like, oh yeah, change all my belief. Like I love that. And
Yes.
I think it's a
Totally.
similar thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it because it sticks too. Like you really, that's one that doesn't necessarily need to be practiced. It can be like a light switch moment of like, whoa, yeah, what? But I think most people appreciate when anyone does that. I think if you have the resilience and you're not so fragile, you can be like, nah, I think I'm wrong about that.
That's not most
I think
people. I don't think that's
no,
most people though.
I agree. And I think that even if somebody wants to do it, I think they worry that that's going to reduce their authority the next thing that they say. But I think the opposite is true. And if somebody brings that to me, well, you didn't believe the last thing you said, which doesn't happen. But if they were to do that, I'd be like, yeah, right. Which is why you ought to listen to this thing, because this one I'm solid on. But like, nobody does that because I think most people respect when someone's like, hang on a second. The honesty and the strength to do that, I think is pretty universally respected, which begs the question, why don't more fucking people do it? Well, because I think most people don't like themselves enough to admit when they've made a mistake, even by their own assessment, because they're carrying around shame so much of the time because mistakes aren't allowed. And oh, I made a mistake, but now I got to hide it. And now I have shame about hiding it. And now the shame pushed down is spiking my anxiety. Oh, and now I just fucking did another thing that doesn't match my values because I'm walking around anxious and shameful all the time. And then you're in the shit washing machine of it all.
Yeah.
Like, shame
Yep.
and fear, man, woo, it rules people's lives like their whole lives.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
pit.
I there is research that has been done in organizational psychology that backs up exactly what you're saying, that is essentially we actually respect people who rethink their opinions and thoughts and will take it back and will admit a mistake and will change and grow because it is growth in action. And
Mhm.
yet individuals, even though collectively we respect it, individuals struggle to do it and they struggle to align with it, and that has always been fascinating to me. Truly, again, my dad saying, but one of the things that I've always said is I have strong opinions loosely held, and I mean
Yes,
that, right? Like,
yes,
yeah, I will have a big voice and I will fight and I will tell you my opinion and we can get into it, and you give me better information, I am not married to my opinion at all, don't care,
yes.
change it,
Oh,
let's
not
go.
married to it. I say that all the time. Look, I'm just like I'm getting an intuitive hit on this with your history. Is it this? Like I'm not married to it. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just like throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yep.
You tell me.
Yep.
Yeah, that is, and I think that's the difference between leadership, the people that will do it and the people that won't.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Totally agreed. Um,
While we're on studies though, can I just say, I
yeah.
fucking said a decade ago that these studies are going to come out that say that people trust people who swear. The cursing actually makes them, it's more authentic. I've been saying this shit forever to justify my own existence. But I knew, and
Yeah,
the numbers don't have to be there for you to know truth, and truth tested with experience.
absolutely. Absolutely.
We gotta calm down about that.
I agree as someone who also swears a fair amount, as you are aware. I agree with that. Um, I adore you and I would like to have you back. Um,
Anytime. The
because I
feeling.
feel like every time we have a conversation, I have so many more questions. You know what I mean? Like I would like to can you come back and we can talk about shame specifically and mistakes
Ooh, yeah.
specifically? Can you do that? Do you want to come back and do that?
Yes, yes. Let's lump in perfectionism, all that.
Love
Yep,
it. All right.
yep.
This will not be the last that any of the listeners or viewers see or hear of you because you're coming back and we have things to
Oh,
talk about. And
wonderful.
all the links for everything are going to be in the show notes for anyone who's watching or listening. Um, and
Thank
it's,
you.
yeah, of course, is it drjjkelly.com?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
drjjkelly.com for if you're listening. Check her out because she's amazing. I love you. Thank you.
I'll be back. Thank you too.
Thanks for joining me today on the Leading Through Crisis podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a minute to rate and review us on your podcast app. If you're interested in learning more about any of our guests, you can find us online at www.leadingthroughcrisis.ca.